All right, here we go for day 5. This is a CU flight review of the 2022 18 meter nationals. There were 9 days scheduled, or 8, but we had several rain days, so this was the last day, day 5, and it was an interesting day. There was 4 or 5 folks in contention, 5 probably, and today was going to be blue, and it was forecasted to be quite strong, but it once again turned out to be weaker than expected. So it made for a very interesting, exciting day. At least for me, I had a good day. Could have been much worse. It was very tricky, and I was fortunate to turn it into a good day. So let's go through this a little bit. There's the results for day 4. So Sean Murphy still ahead with a 34-point lead, and that was 34 that I had gained over him yesterday. I apologize. Roughly a 45-point lead, and Bob Fletcher 100 points behind. And then Robin Clark and Eric Nelson very close behind him, and then Gary Nelson, and then Sergei Morozov and Pete Alexander. It's actually quite tight here from third back. It's extremely tight. Jay Walker in 9th, and Fernando Silva in 10th, Ken Sorensen and Dave Nadler. CD report, again, if you read through this on the SSA website under day 5, CD report. It was a good day. We set a 315 kilometer sort of bow tie that went up to the north here to Brownfield, down to Bishopville, over to Darlington, over to Kirk Air Base, down to Camden, and to the finish. The idea is to keep everybody generally close to the airfield and to go over known terrain that we had become familiar with over the previous 5 days and any practice days. So it was a very smart task, and the conditions did look good, but they looked better. They were predicted better than forecast by every major soaring methodology almost every day, which we never really did fully understand. At least I didn't. Maybe somebody has a comment. But again, forecast with blue thermals topping to 7,000 and very, very blue. So let's jump in here, and there was an incredibly interesting event that happened at the start that I'll talk a little bit about. So here is a 3D view, all the data. All of these are aligned based on their score or finish for the day. And a little bit of data here for the top 3. So here's the 3D view, and I'll try and, this is the start angle, so we'll set it up kind of in that position. And here's the 2D view. So roughly we're looking at these in basically the same aspect. And of course, here's your barograph for every trace, the red guy being myself. So you can see a little bit of me here on top. And you can see a couple of guys who launched late here working up, and you'll even be able to see a land out. Looks like somebody's getting ready to come down and land right here. So Alpha Sierra comes back in for a relight, and you can see that on the barograph trace. And then here Mike Papa and 90 are climbing out. So that's kind of interesting to follow. That's why I have it. So basically, to summarize here, and I'm going to slow this down to 20 just while I talk. X-Ray Charlie did the right thing in terms of just finding me. Of course, we're all required to keep our firearms on. You can do stealth mode. I probably could have switched to stealth mode today, and maybe I should have tactically, but I just don't believe in that. So I kept it on, and X-Ray Charlie found me and hung out pretty close to me. So if I slow this down here a little bit, we'll watch the start. Looks like the first guys have taken off here. One X-Ray, Hotel 7, 198, Fox Charlie, and Yankee Oscar. So again, it's about -4, 237 there. and off we go. Oh, it's actually, I'm not sure if it's 147 or 247. Anyway, let's watch the start here for our group, and I'll position that so you can see the gliders ahead. There's the original starters. Here's the gaggle just on the corner of the starting line, and then here's the gaggle back behind the starting line. And that gaggle includes X-Ray Charlie, Jay Walker, Whiskey 7, and myself. And I'm in a difficult position here. My competitor has a 45-point lead, and basically all he has to do is stay with me to win the Nationals. And he does just that. And it's blue. There's no cloud choice. You can't really do anything to get away. One thing I thought about doing is just turning downwind or upwind and going, 25 miles away from the starting line, and forcing him to consider losing second place or first place to the third and fourth place guy. So, I thought about that, but I just didn't want to do anything that radical. So you can see here, I'm trying to do that, and the whole gang kind of comes with me, and I'm evaluating what's going on. So you can see I'm trying to get away and hide outside of flarm range, but here you can see X-Ray Charlie keeping a good eye on me. And this is where the interesting thing happens here. So I made the decision to start in the best part of the day. I knew the gaggle was going to be behind me, but I also knew there was too big of a point spread for it really to matter unless some disaster happened. And I thought the best thing that I could do was control flying through the best part of the day. I didn't want to be out too late on a blue day. And it just wasn't a good enough end of the day lift curve. It was definitely shutting down by 5 and weakening, so I wanted to try and make sure that I could get back in that time frame. Second at a Nationals is great, and 45 points behind someone is almost nothing. It's 99%, so that's a good score. But what happened here was really, really interesting. Now, Sean and I both have clear navs, and setting the start line feature is very simple. You simply set a radius, in this case 5 kilometers, and set it to line, and it does it for you. It makes it square to the center of the next turn point. And because we have the exact same computers, this really shouldn't be a problem. And I'm not exactly sure what happened here, but it looks like, and it sounds like from discussions with Sean afterwards, that he felt that I did not hit this line, that I started outside of it. That was his impression. And so he came in and started where he felt the starting line was. And I think he might have set his to 0.5 kilometers rather than 5 kilometers. And this cost him a lot. So here at this point where I'm starting, and I'm just zooming in to the moment that I cross the line, I am at 2,118 meters, and X-Ray Charlie is at 2,170 meters, as you can see right here. So he's in a perfect position to start, and unfortunately he miscalculates or has some sort of computer error, and you'll see this happen here. He crosses the line, comes back through the line, and I'd say 0.5 is going to be right about here, whatever. So let's look at that. Maybe it wasn't 0.5, but I'm just not sure. Maybe he set it somehow to a 5-mile length or 5 kilometer length, and that would be within that. So 2.5 either side, but the definition is 5 kilometers radius, so 10 kilometers side to side. So he ends up starting at 2046. So this isn't a very big deal. It just gives me a chance. And he's still in a great spot. I mean, I'm out in front, and I'm only, if that's 5 kilometers right here between the start and the end of the line, I may be 7 kilometers ahead at this point. So that's just 4 miles. That's not that big of a deal. Not even 4 miles. It's somewhere in that range. So he has his objective now. His objective is to catch back up. And of course, he's going to want to start a little later. It's almost to his advantage in a blue day because the leaders never can get away, usually. But in hindsight, if he would have started right there with me, he probably would have been in a better tactical position, a better strategic position. But that was interesting. So, and then here comes the rest of the group, as always, lining us up and getting ready to gobble us down and get that time. I'm thinking a little bit about restarting. I'm thinking about doing a fake start and coming back, but I decide to go, and we'll watch this play out. And I'm going to aim back here just so you can see what happens. So X-Ray Charlie off on a little bit of a different course there. And I'll zoom in a little bit just to... So let's see, he did go off on quite a different course, and he's at 1857, and I'm at 1779. So I'd say we're both doing pretty well here. 52 LD, and I'm a 44. And okay, so that's interesting. A stop. And a 0.8 average for 100 meters, and it costs him 2 minutes of time. So I'm 22K into the task. Sean is 13, and off he goes. And I'm going. Obviously, you can see there, it's a blue day, so I'm searching over the town. Probably should be here if I'm searching over the town, downwind of the heat source. But that's Pageland, the town just north of Bermuda High, where we have Mexican food almost every day during the contest, if I get my way. All right, so I pull into my first climb, 1.2 meters, and I just take it for 134. And I know that's not really, it's 2 knots. It's not really what we forecasted the day for. And I also see these guys coming by higher, so I'm assuming that they have found something ahead. And I pull into another one, so here's 2.2 meters, 4 knots, and I take that for 321 meters. And at this point, I can't believe that they're not coming on to me, catching me, but they stop and they get 1.7 meters. So I get roughly half a meter more climb here for the same height. I gain a minute. I climb for 228, and Sean climbs for 308. So I gain 40 seconds. So this is good. I'm starting to do okay. I'm at 1985, which is just below what I started at. And X-Ray Charlie is at 1904, so I'm 100 meters, almost 100 meters above and out ahead. And I know that this group and this group are out ahead. So I know that I'm going to have some people to catch up to, maybe. Off we go. I always like to look at the LD. So that 40 seconds is pretty important. And we can stop here and look. Distance done, I've done 38.3. And Sean has done 30.5. So I'm 8K ahead now, which is just a little bit more maybe than the point of starting. So I've pulled out just a little bit. So this is very good. The initial catch is the hardest thing. And 10K, 6 miles, that's hard to see. Went a little too far into the turn here, assuming we're not ordering distance, but maybe it's US rules. I honestly don't even know. So there goes X-Ray Charlie. He definitely got a peek at me there. So let's go back to that point. So I'm coming out, he's coming in, and I'm at 1485, and he's way above me, 1751. So that is a big gain. So 250 meters, that's 750 feet. He should get the catch there. And I don't know how he gained so much there between the last two. We were at the same altitude, but I guess I'm just a little farther down the track, but I don't think I'm burning altitude that quickly. Oh, and I'm actually gaining altitude in a straight line here. Let's take a look. There was some wave in this area. There were some large areas of lift. So if you look here, 1482, maybe I just gained it all in the climb. Yeah, so I'm gaining altitude almost before the climb. This is a halfway decent climb. 1.7, 259. And Sean, I never really noticed this during the flight, so I'm kind of interested to see this, but Sean comes in below. I'm at 17.8 and he's at 1470. So we're flying the same glide profile. He's basically at the same altitude I was, going through the same real estate. And he pulls up underneath. And so he's almost caught me here at this point. And he gets a little less of a climb. I got 1.7, he gets 1.5. But the catch is close. So here's this wave. So notice this 137 LD, and let's watch and see. I'm going to just go back to the last thermal and we'll sort of replay. So X-Ray Charlie comes around the turn. And look at that air. They're just still climbing. And a 137 LD. Sean's still climbing behind. There he's finally leaving. But the gaggle kind of caught him. So I'm at 1600. Sean is back at 1700. So I've gained a little bit, only 150 meters below. Distance done, 43 for Sean, 58 for me. So I'm 15K ahead now and only 150 meters below. And Sean's glide ratio here for this next bit is enormous. So he gets it as well. Look at that, 826. So he goes through the same good air and he gets the benefit of the same good air. And I'm not seeing too many other people do that. So this is what the good pilots do, I guess, is they get good glides and they don't lose, they find energy on the runs. So I get 137, but Sean gets 826. So task distance, but he only goes 3.3K and I go 45K. So he should be stopping to turn here pretty quick. Yeah, and he does. So he stops and turns. And he gets a 1.2 seconds for another minute. And I keep going straight. I do a longer glide here. And I'm sorry, I know that this is not really being steered very well. Let's just zoom out so we can see everything. Really, it's no better than the 2D view. And the histogram here, everybody's in the same air. So at this point, I got really frustrated. There was wave or something, but there was also really strong sink. It was almost like a little bit of rotor, but it was going up and down, but I couldn't center the climb. And you're going to see probably 4 or 5 efforts to climb here, and I just keep going. And I do a lot of my turn 90 into the wind or downwind stuff. Here you can see I'm going by Zulu Oscar, Rich Owen, which I was very happy to see someone, but he was way above me. Zulu Oscar is at 1790 and I'm at 1347, so he's 500 meters, 1500 feet above me. It's almost not even worth worrying about. X-Ray Charlie, a 41 glide ratio, but I'm still on that 137 glide ratio. So I go for a 45 kilometer glide here before I stop and turn. And I think this is what won me the day, because it gets me out of touch with these guys and I don't have to think about them ever again. And I'm able to just fly by myself and push. And you're going to see a lot of meandering and fighting here. But I still don't turn until I find a good climb, hopefully. So there, I turn and nothing. So this is where the pain begins. But fortunately, it looks like Sean's back there fighting too. But he did find a good climb, 1.8 meters for 2:42, 2 minutes, 12 seconds. And this is where it was sort of make or break for me. I knew that if I didn't find a strong climb, I'd probably be caught. There's another miss, 0.3, another miss. So this is just hell in the cockpit for me. And I might have seen a couple cue balls here, if I remember correctly, but there was nothing underneath them. Another miss, 0.3 Vario. Zulu Oscar comes in above to tell me to stop being stupid. And finally, I stop in 2.1 and take that for 500 meters. So I'm crossing 1,700 meters. X-Ray Charlie's descending through 1,700 meters, and I still have a bit of a lead. And X-Ray Charlie has left the group behind, so he's the best of this group. And I just have to stay in front of him and for whatever 45 points is worth in the scoring formula. And another really good glide ratio, 46. A 21K glide here. And obviously I have the reference of Zulu Oscar, but I think he was directly in the sun for me, and I was having a really hard time seeing him. X-Ray Charlie is stretching hard, trying to catch up. I'm sure it's what I'd be doing. He's going through that difficult area that we were just climbing in. I'm keeping Zulu Oscar in track. I think he's doing better in the higher air. So here I find another 2 meters per second for 200 meters, 142. And Zulu Oscar takes off out ahead. So we'll sort of follow Zulu Oscar. So Zulu Oscar was in a 2.7 meter climb. So I come forward and get that same climb, 2.6. So that's the benefit of having a good teammate. And he doesn't mean to be, but right now I'm using Zulu Oscar as a teammate. It's always beneficial for two gliders that are together to help each other and to work harder, to fly faster. So he gave me that gift, and I have to return the favor here, hopefully. A 28 meter glide here. Sean's in a climb right now, 1.4 meters per second. So there, he took 1.4 and I got 2.6. That's going to gain us some. And you can see here the lead is kind of increasing. So turning the second turn point, Bishopville, and heading off now to Darlington. And let's pause really quick and take a look. So 44 LD, that's pretty average for 18 meter glider running at speed. We're flying about 100 knots here. I'm at 1752, nice and high. Sean's down at 1403 and a little bit behind, and he's isolated. I know Zulu Oscar is out ahead. I know he's close enough that I could see wings flashing if he pulls up into something, and of course I could find something on my own behind and be good. So I'm in a good position. Sean's just a little too far to be using me as a reference right now. Let's pan the camera camera forward so you can see what I'm seeing. So Zulu Oscar is pulling into nothing here, but he 0.2, but he spent 2 minutes in it. So that's a little bit of a mistake. And I pull into it. And it's 1.6. So I guess I help him adjust. Let's go back and see that. So, no, Zulu Oscar, he's climbing at 2.7. I'm sorry. So let me go back just a little bit and see what's going on. I think I was reading the wrong data. Oh, well, we're way too far back. Okay, so this is where we wanted to be. So Zulu Oscar is trying to find a climb here. He knows, I think, what's going on in his mind. I'm going to give you the sort of the down view here. He's at 1255, 1250. So that's about 3,500, 4,000 feet. What he's doing is he knows that the climbs get worse down below 3,000 feet, 3,500 in this case. So he's trying to stay high, but unfortunately he stops in very little thermal strength there. But it's perfect for me because he's waiting for me. It's a 0.2 meter. He's been there for 2 minutes. So I'm looking and visually seeing that he's probably not going up. I think I'm above him now somehow. But I know he's not going up from the slant angle. So I'm going to feel the area out. Or he shifts and I just go over to where he shifts. And I go right into 1.6 for 142, 160 meters. But Zulu Oscar had to take the time to center that. So that's just an enormous benefit there. For me, it was great to find a fast teammate. And Sean is on the run back there. And if I remember correctly, he hasn't turned. He's probably getting pretty low. So yeah, he's down to 1,000 meters. And it looks like he's coming down train tracks or looking for fields or something. He's a little bit off axis. We're a little bit downwind. I know we were both going for this town. Yankee Oscar ahead. He's in 1.9 and taking it way up for 853 meters downwind of the town. So that's a really good spot. But I think Rich and I were happy here. I'm sure Rich wanted that 2 minutes back, but that's okay. That's the pain of flying alone. So I leave. Zulu Oscar follows. Yo's climbing here still at 1.9 meters per second. It's just about at my altitude. And my average will probably be higher than his. No, not much, but because I didn't have to center it. But 1.7 meters, a little higher than the 1.6 that we were just in. 3 minutes for 335. So at this point, I am 146 kilometers into a 317 kilometer task. X-ray Charlie, or sorry, it's not working for him, but I think it's working for me. 5 Echo is out ahead. That makes sense. It looks like maybe 20K behind at this point. Off we go, headed to Darlington, the famous town where the NASCAR race is. And now I have not one, but 2 guys sort of working here as a team, although I am definitely pushing hard because I'm pretty high here. And another thing here, I really wanted to find a climb before we turn back basically upwind. But I just don't, and I end up having to turn back upwind and find the climb on the upwind. So it definitely depresses the real thermal value of this climb. You can see here roughly 12 miles per hour wind out of the south. So there we go. We stop, we find a climb, and it is, oh shit, we'll go back. 1.4 meters a second, but I don't stay and wait in that I figure that's not enough, and I'm still high enough at 1200 meters to keep on pushing. Let's swing this around here so you can see. Looks like X-Ray Charlie has gotten high and broken away again. He's up at 1574 meters, and he gets 100 LD here, so his glides are really, really good. So here I'm getting a little low. I'm down to 1,000 meters, but there we go. 2.2 meters for 865. Unfortunately, it's on the upwind, so that's probably only worth 1.6 or something. Let's see what I went around this at about 1,200 meters. Let's see what altitude these guys go around, and we can sort of equate finding the thermal at the right time. And you can see I'm starting to catch up a little bit to the lead pack, and here's Papa 7, who's starting to get a little low. He's also at 1,000 meters, but his land out comes not too much longer into the task here. Okay, so X-Ray Charlie is coming into the turn point, and I was at 1,200 meters. He's at 1,533, so he's in a much better position. Although we did find a good climb, and we're 300 meters above, and still it looks like about 10K ahead. And you know, X-Ray Charlie is doing this off the front of the pack. You know, there's a huge swarm here. Jay, Bob, Sergey, and Pete, and he's trying desperately to break away and to catch up to me, because he knows there's some points in play here. But it's going to be tough to leave that group. And this was a fun run. So the wind is off the left quarter, left nose, and finding climbs was difficult. So that's 0.6 and miss. Sean's catching up. We're still a little higher. We're at 1,700, and Sean is at 1,100. So 500 meters is worthwhile. Here I stopped for 1.6. And X-Ray Charlie is able to use the turn for Yo and Zoo. I really just need one more strong climb here. X-Ray Charlie is circling at 1.8 for 600. So he's possible to catch here if I don't find a strong climb. There's a big strong turn downwind. The right wing rose, so I'm turning downwind to try and find that thermal. Getting low. Oh no, I'm still high. I'm still at 1,700. I left at 1,800, so this is a pretty good glide. X-Ray Charlie climbed way up 1,600 meters. So here, at this point, I'm in a pretty good spot. I'm at 1,583. X-Ray Charlie is at 1,633. And, you know, that's pretty far ahead. That's, it's got to be 20K. So it's a good spot. And he's going to have to cross that bridge. He's going to have to find a really strong climb behind, or we're going to have to miss a bunch to catch up. A lot of dancing here. Kind of fun to watch this, trying to find climbs. Zoo and Yankee Oscar actually sort of outperform me, which is great. It's good to have help. It'd be nice if they were coming up forward and were alongside, but... And there's 2.1 for 633. Not the greatest climb, but it was due down at 1,500 meters. We're starting to get a look at final glide, maybe 1,000 meters below now. So the last climbs need to be as strong as possible. Don't want to take a weak climb. So let's take a stop here. And X-Ray Charlie is in 1.3 for 255, and we're in 2.1 for 633. So that's going to leave a mark. 5 minutes and 3 minutes, but we get almost triple the height. And now let's task our cannons forward. We're almost catching the lead pack. And here we are going right back over Bermuda High. Brilliant task by Jay Walker. Make sure that we stay in tight and Anybody who's getting low has a good chance to return back to the airfield. This is a great look here. These two are team flying beautifully. Still high, still at 1,740 meters. So at this point in the task, the daytime, it's about 1943 minus 4 would be 15. So it's about 3:48, and or almost 4 o'clock, and it definitely starts to get weaker here. And I think the source of that was some high cirrus that was coming in from the west, or just some high mush. It wasn't cirrus, but it was like a haze high that started to weaken things. Maybe there was some rain over here or something. We hadn't really flown in this area of the task area, Kirk Air Base, and it started to get weak pretty quick. Papa 7, who is going to land out here pretty quick, he's still at 1,000 meters, and I think he lands out. He's here at 1,000 meters. He lands out here. So something bad happened there to do that, but we're fat, dumb, and happy. 1,700 meters, and we're catching up to these gaggles that left a fair bit ahead. So I'm pretty happy at this point, but this is the last of the good climbs. We're now kind of going into a weak zone, and we don't know it yet. I got above Yankee Oscar and Zoo just a little bit, leading out ahead. 44 LD for this run. So Papa 7 did a 1.2 meter climb, and we bump it and keep running. Zoo pulls up alongside, and we're going to take the turn point. Let's look back at the group. Looks like, so Jay and the group is basically caught up to Sean, but they're super high, 1,900 meters, 1,900 meters. I don't know what they took to get up that high. Let's see if I go back to X-Ray Charlie really quick and just go back. Let's see what they took. So X-Ray Charlie took 1.5 for 514 meters. Jay joins, and the group joins from behind. Okay. So it's not a bad climb at all, but I think we had 2 plus 2.2 in our last one, so we accordioned out again a little bit. Okay. So here we are coming into the final turn. Papa 7 came with us, and he's low at this point, I'm sure. 846 meters. You can see he's quite a bit lower. But 5 Echo and Fernando Silva and Hotel 7 are super low out ahead. So where's 5 Echo? 859 meters. Fernando Silva, 841. So you can see definitely getting weak here out in front. So we take the second to last turn, Kirk Air Base. And now we can see some climbers out ahead. And I don't know why I'm making that deviation at this point. There might have been some wisps here, some clouds. And this is a bigger group. These guys aren't even turning, and they're lower. Those guys are going up, so you can see there that right group was much lower. And 5 Echo is climbing at 1.4, and he takes it way up. So we made the right choice to go over here. And we get 1.5, but only take it for 211 meters, and that was probably a mistake. We probably could have been a little faster here, going higher, but of course I wasn't aware that we'd gone into a weak spot yet. And so I assume there's something bigger out ahead. And I have no problem. We started way behind these guys, so I'll let these guys go out ahead and find something. Got a little bit above Yankee Oscar there. And off we go. So we're at only 1,200 meters. So we're a good 400 or 500 meters lower than we were running on just the last leg. And here, you know, letting those guys go was a little bit of a mistake. Fernando Silva, 1.2 meter climb. So it's not a great climb. I pull in and get 1.5 out of it, but they get above us. I probably could have been even with those guys if I wanted to be. So 5 Echo is pushing hard out ahead. Let's see what he finds. Fernando and Hotel 7 leaving. And boy, oh boy, 5 Echo. Oh, he looks lower than it seems. He's only 922. Romeo Fox is a little higher, 1,300 over here. So he got back up. And Papa 7 is, at this point, that is pain. I don't know what happened. Must have just found some sink. So he found a field. He missed, so he just glided in, hit the turn, missed a thermal. I think that's an air base there. I don't know if it's a runway or something. And then he takes off and goes on and goes into a field. Good pattern. Okay. So we're pretty close to final glide now, probably within 300 meters. So that we're basically one climb left. And there I take 1 meter a second, and this is where we lose touch with Fernando. He finds 1.3 and Hotel 7 finds 1.6. So just a minute more, they climb more than double the height. They're already 2 or 3 miles ahead, and that's it, game, set, match. And then we go over to their climb, and I think 1.5. But they've been in that stronger climb rate for a little longer. Anyway, this gets us close to final glide. We're on the upwind leg here, so I'm thinking, gosh, I'm just not high enough to comfortably push in here and find a climb on the downwind. I'll be at 700 or 800 meters. I wasn't aware that Papa 7 landed out, but it was brutal down low, and you can see the wind has picked up a little bit and shifted west. It's at 16. Well, it's dropped a little bit, but it's shifted west, but it is getting later in the day. And we got a nice jump out on Sean and this group, although I bet you they're high. 1,300 meters to our 1,400 meters. So they're actually low and way behind. So I think we've extended out pretty good and had a good task through this rough part. And I hated this part of the flight, but what is it? 1.8. So that's good. 1.8 is a good climb rate. That's probably worth 1.3 on the downwind, meaning 1.8 upwind subtracts from the climb rate. And if we took that same climb on the downwind, it would amplify the climb relative to the task in general. And we just pull into another climb. That's 2 meters a second, and we take it for another 245, but we're already falling way behind this group. So I guess what I'm saying is I wish I could have finished with this group because I could have had even more points, but I kept it conservative, and it was probably stupid because, you know, if X-Ray Charlie found a strong climb behind and blew through, that's the point where he still could have caught me. Now I'm dry here at this point, and Zulu Oscar outperforms me on this run. Maybe he had more water or just his motor made a difference, but Zulu Oscar's glider runs very well. Moving over, seeing Zulu Oscar going up, so come over behind him, but he's just red shifting as he blasts away. Let's go back and take one last look at this group. They're in a climb. X-Ray Charlie 1.6, 629 meters, but fairly low, 913 meters to catch it. We were never that low, and we're good and happy on our final glide here and are going to get home. Kilo Mike and Whiskey 7, I think they got overrun by this gaggle. I think they started before I did, and oh no, I'm not sure. Zulu Oscar just marching. A 31 LD at this speed. Zulu Oscar 31 LD as well. But he finished 30 seconds ahead or so. Frustrating. What was the start time for... That's day 4. What was the start time for Ken? 13:55. Oh, so Ken started way behind me. Okay. I thought Ken started in one of the early groups. All right. So that was it. And as you could see, I was able to win the day and got 61 points. And that was enough to overrun the 45-point lead. And I was able to win. Yoo-hoo. But Sean flew great. As you could see, he had a lot of tenacity back there. It was, you know, whatever happened there with his start, that was a little gap that I needed, and I took advantage of it. But if he would have started with me right there, I don't think I would have been able to escape. And I probably wouldn't have flown as well because I would have had him all over me. So that was it was a really fun day. I felt, you know, a good sense of accomplishment from it. Second was Eric. He started early and flew great. So he started at 38, 11 minutes ahead, and finished 5 minutes ahead. Who else? Sergey had a good day. Where's fourth? Fourth, Rich Owen. Rich flew very well. Biff, I didn't see Biff except that second to last leg when he was with Fernando Silva. Sixth, Fernando Silva. So Biff and Fernando flew together today. They did a good job. That's about it. So, all right. I hope you enjoyed these. It was fun to go through them. I like to look at a lot of details. I haven't been doing this in some of the other flights, but I'll do it for this one. We'll go to the statistics for the task. It's good to look at this. It's fun to look at this for a variety of reasons. It was a blue day, and if you assume maybe 2 gliders are flying alone for the majority of the task, you can derive some interesting information from it. So for my flight, 1.8 average vario and 21 thermals. And then my average mean LD was 44. And I always seem to kind of be like that. I can go into the high mode and loft up when I want to, but I generally want to go fast. A 15K glide. And so now let's just look at some of the other players. 5 Echo, who had a very good day. 1.4 for 21. What was mine? 1.8. Same number of, but a little bit better LD and a little longer glide. But I did find a few more strong thermals, which would result in that average. Oh, no start for Romeo Fox for whatever reason. That's okay. 47 LD, 16.6 glide, 1.5 meter per second, and 19 thermals. So 2 less thermals for Yankee Oscar, or sorry, Zulu Oscar. Now looking at Hotel 7, very good, 1.6 and 19 thermals. So and 44 LD. Interesting how everybody's getting the same 44 LD. 18 thermals, even less for Fernando. 52 LD, a very high LD, and a little bit longer glide. So he's but just a little weaker climb rate average. So Fernando in his JS3 is doing a really good job of getting good energy out of the glides. 9-0. Somebody outlanding. I don't know why. That's not correct data. No valid start. 9-8. 51. Short. Oh, I think some of these guys are... Some of the data here is screwed up. So, anyway, this is always good. Go through this data section and see if it gives you good information. If you use it over and over again over a bunch of flights, you can get down into the weeds on particular legs. You could, for example, compare the first leg, mean LD of 46, 4 glides, 14.2 average, 1.8 vario, and then let's look at maybe Sean and go down to that first. The data is incomplete for him. There's a lot of data that you can get out of this if it works. For whatever reason, it's not working for this flight. But check it out, see what you can learn. And thank you for watching. And I'm going to go back and do Nephi. I've been invited to do that. And some of the memories are going to be old there, but the flying was really cool and the strategy was really cool. So I'll get a playlist up for that with all those flights. I think there's 7 or 8, so there'll be a bigger series. That was a really fun one. So look forward to that and comment. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. We will see you all soon.